All right, it is Thursday, and I'm here with a lady in red, Anna Navarro, and Cha-Cha. Welcome to Behind the Table.
Thank you.
All right, let's get right into it. It has been a month of a week, I would say, and a roller coaster of headlines, a lot of them around Jimmy Kimmel. He returned after his suspension on Tuesday night with absolutely huge ratings. In your opinion, did he meet the moment?
Yes. First of all, I think I'm as tired as I am because now I am watching Kimmel and I'm watching him live. And my
You are not alone.
53-year-old ass is tired from staying up till past midnight to watch this show. This Kimmel thing has been really hard, but it's also been a very poignant reminder that the First Amendment is not just something that's written on a piece of paper, and it's not passive. It's something that needs to be defended, that needs to be fought for, that needs to be debated. And I think it really questions what you stand for. And, it's easy for us to say, oh, I stand for the First Amendment right. But what does that actually mean? And so, to me, we had a lot of viewers who were really upset with us because we didn't talk about it on Thursday and Friday. I think later we explained, that Thursday we wanted to take a beat and the Friday show was pre-taped. But I was happy about those viewers. That's why I thanked them in my remarks when we did talk about it on Monday, because they have a First Amendment right to tell us when they are unhappy. And I love the fact, they said a lot of things to us, but I love the fact that they care about our take. And I love the fact that they expect reactions, truth, authenticity from us. That's what the View means to our viewers. So yeah, we had people protesting our building. We had people protesting our show. And I think our loyal viewers have every right to do so. I think the people that protested in front of ABC and the Kimmel building in LA have every right to do so. I think Jimmy Kimmel has every right to do so. And so, but this weekend was to speak his mind. This weekend was almost like a Dickens novel, right? It was like a tale of two freedoms of speeches. And on the one hand, on Sunday, you had the Charlie Kirk Memorial. And what an incredibly powerful, compassionate, graceful thing his widow did and said.
I thought so too.
She goes up to the podium and she says that she forgives the man who killed her husband, the father of her two little babies. And yet, just a few minutes after her, Donald Trump gets on there and says he hates his opponents and he wants bad things to happen to us, because I count myself as one of his opponents. Okay, I guess he's president of the United States and he has freedom of speech to say that. But it's frankly a horrible thing to say. So, it's a horrible thing to say for any president at any time. But I think particularly at this time when the country is this divided, when we are seeing an uptick in political violence, and when every other president has called for unity. And so, look, there's people, and I think Kimmel was right when he said that there was nothing he could say, that people who liked him were going to think he did it right, and must be true, because I do. Mm-hmm. And people who didn't like him, there was nothing he could say to make them, move past this. But those same people don't say a damn thing when Donald Trump is at a memorial saying that he hates his opponents and wants bad things to happen to us. So so it's like, people need to be consistent. That's why I appreciated so much, despite the fact that I don't support them and I disagree with a lot of the things they say. I appreciated so much people like Ted Cruz and Ben Shapiro and Joe Rogan and Rand Paul coming out and saying, no, First Amendment is First Amendment.
Were you surprised by it? I actually was surprised, because even though I know that's what these people believe, it does seem like it's very hard for people to speak out against President Trump if they're a supporter of him. And especially Ted Cruz, who we know has bent the knee many, many times on personal issues and otherwise. And I was impressed that he came out and said it as forcefully as he did.
I will tell you, I think there's something at play on this Ted Cruz thing. First, he said that we have to remember that, Republicans have to remember that they're not going to be in power always. And do they want to suffer equal consequences when Democrats are in power? To tell you the truth, I was surprised at that part because I think Republicans think and actually know, and I think I agree with them, that liberals, for the most part, bleeding heart liberals are just too damn squishy to do the ruthless things that Republicans are capable of doing to the opposing party. But on the Ted Cruz aspect of it, it is not lost on me that Ted Cruz's father fled Cuba in the 50s. So he fled the Batista right-wing dictatorship before Castro. And I think that for those of us, like me, who have lived under dictatorship, we don't take it for granted. We don't take democracy. We don't take freedoms for granted, and we don't take it lightly because we know that it's a slippery slope and we know how it starts and what it can turn to. Look, these dictators, they start by silencing the people with the big platforms and their enemies in the press and the people that they don't like. But then it turns into them looking at your social media. And then, there's a law in Nicaragua that says that criticizing the government is treason, which is the reason why I can't go back to visit my mother's grave in Nicaragua, because I would be treated as a Nicaraguan citizen and I would be subject to that law. So I can't set foot in the country where my mother and my brother are buried.
That's horrible. I'm sorry.
And and that's how it starts. It starts by going, and it's that famous poem from World War II. First they came for this group, then they came for that, and nobody said anything. Then they came for this group, and nobody said anything. By the time they came for me, there was nobody left to speak up. And that is why we have got to speak up regardless of partisanship, because freedom of speech should be something that unites us all. And I just don't understand, and I have said this over and over again, but I say it because I want the people who love him, who honor him, who support him, who followed him, to really think about this. I disagreed vehemently with so many things that Charlie Kirk said, but everybody that knew him and that supported him said he stood for freedom of speech. I don't understand then how the way to honor him and how the legacy can be to silence opponents and stifle debate. That just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. And the difference in the way that we are measured also doesn't make sense to me. I mean, there was a Fox News host who went out on air, morning TV, by the way, when people are supposed to be happy and preppy and talking about, perky things. And he goes out and he says that the homeless should be killed by lethal injection. He came out a couple of days later and apologized, but nobody batted an eyelash. Donald Trump says he hates his opponents and wants bad things to happen to them. Nobody bats an eyelash. And yet, if you are a Trump opponent, you've got to walk on eggshells and you've got to be careful of everything you say. So we need to be consistent. And when we say that we believe in the First Amendment, we have to be fearless in defending it and in practicing it and in respecting it when other people practice it.
All right, I'm going to change gears for a minute. And I think everything you're saying is very important, but I want to talk about our interview this week with Vice President Kamala Harris. Made a lot of headlines in that interview. What were your takeaways from it?
I have a lot of feelings around the book.
I remember because you're close to President Biden too.
And I said that to Kamala. I talked to her before she came on the show, and I said to her, this has been a very hard read for me. It's been a painful read for me because she goes into a lot of detail about her feelings towards the Biden team and some of the, it got complicated. There was a lot of resentment. There was a lot of hurt there. And I think I was somewhat aware of it. I was generally aware of it, but I kind of thought, always chalked it up to it coming with the job of being vice president. There's always, a little tension. The vice president always wants more attention and more duties and more responsibility. And there's always a little tension. Joe Biden had it with Barack Obama, but I didn't think it was to the level that it obviously is, and that I found difficult. And I said to her during a commercial break here that I wonder how much of it was influenced and affected by COVID, because when Kamala gets nominated in 2020 as Biden's vice president, they really didn't get to campaign together. A lot of times when they
That's a bonding opportunity.
They
for
didn't
them.
know
Yeah.
each other that much, right? There had been that moment in the primary debate where she talked about buzzing, and it's something that the Biden team and the Biden family took offense at. But they really didn't know each other as couples. Kamala had been friends of Beau Biden, but really, she didn't serve in the
Spend a lot of
Senate with
time
Joe
with him.
Biden.
Yeah.
They hadn't really formed that kind of friendship, and they didn't get to be on a campaign bus together. They didn't get to be out there doing campaign events. They didn't have an inaugural ball. They didn't have all of those ceremonial times. They didn't have a convention in 2020. It was all virtual.
That's right.
So all those times when you see those two couples bonding and holding hands and spending time together and traveling through America together, they didn't get that. And then, for the full first year of their presidency, it was COVID. They weren't out there together, and Kamala wasn't out there. I think Kamala is at her best when she's out there with people on the stump. And, she was at the vice president's residence doing Zoom meetings. That's what that presidency and vice presidency was like for the first year plus. And I wonder how much of the roots of that tension come
Stem
from
from
the
that.
fact that was the case. I also we had a very powerful moment, which was during a commercial break. But I asked her during the commercial break. There are people who were enthusiastic supporters of Hillary, enthusiastic supporters of yours, Democrats who today say to me that we need to win in 2028, and the way to do that is to nominate a white man. And Kamala said, I refuse to concede that, and I refuse to allow myself to believe that, because I will not tell little girls of color that they are out of the game. I will not tell any little girl, especially little girls of color, that they are out of the game just because, and that they can't grow up to be president just because of who they are. And you know what? Yes, damn it. We are not in a place where we can concede that. We're not in a and she said something else that I thought was really important, and that I really took to heart. She said, she talked about the joy, the optimism, the energy of her campaign, and how bad people are feeling right now, and how there's this malaise and this pessimism and sadness. And she said, look, that optimism is something you have inside. It's a light inside of you. And we cannot allow ourselves to let Donald Trump diminish and dim and turn off that light inside of us. It's for us to control, which is something you hear me say over and over again. We must find balance. We must lean in to what's happening in this country, and we must lean out and take care of our soul, of our hearts, of our bodies, of ourselves. We must fight, be hard. We must, not violently, but we must fight back with our vote. And, I want to talk about, I don't know if you were going to mention it, but I want to talk about this thing that happened in the ICE facility in Texas. The things that are happening in this country with immigrants, are abominable and should be condemned. But the reason they're happening is because of the policies that are set. So if you want to change what's happening in this country, which is heartbreaking, I have seen videos this week of little children that were left abandoned in a car when their parents were taken away. I have seen a video of a little 3-year-old boy praying with his hands like this, begging that his mother not be taken away. I have seen videos of children that are being raised by a neighbor because the mother was taken away. I have read headlines from the Miami Herald that 2/3, almost 1,200 people that were sent to Alligator Alcatraz are nowhere to be found. They've disappeared from the database. We don't know where they are. Their relatives and their attorneys don't know where they are. So there are things happening without that don't respect civil rights and human rights and court processes and legal rights. But if you want to change that, your weapon is to go and vote. It is never violence. Violence cannot be the answer. Violence only leads to more violence.
Absolutely.
And it will not solve the root causes. So if you want to change what is happening in this country, we have got an election next year. Get registered, get organized, get energized, get the people around you energized, and go change the makeup of the U.S. Congress so that we can have a change in policy.
Absolutely. No, and it's important, I think, to just consistently and constantly, as we always have it at this show, just speak out against all violence. It's the idea that there's a different, that we, any of us feel differently about one side or the other committing violence. It's crazy. No violence anywhere. Never okay.
Right.
Yeah. All right, let's switch gears here because last week you were talking about Bad Bunny's Puerto Rico residency. And I heard you had some, what the kids call FOMO. Explain this to me.
Oh, my God. So I must have watched this 100 times this weekend. Mm-hmm. Oh, my God. So Bad Bunny had finished his residency, the announced dates, and then he added one more weekend. And the last guest in the last weekend of the Bad Bunny residency, and this residency is like extraordinary. I was hearing Fat Joe talk about it on his podcast. I mean, or maybe it was DJ Khaled who went. He says, oh my God, there's like a narration. There's a frog. There's mountains. There's the last guest was Mark Anthony, Mark Anthony. And it was like this big surprise. And there's this song called Preciosa, which basically, if you don't know Preciosa, you are not Puerto Rican. You should not claim to be Puerto Rican because you don't deserve to be Puerto Rican if you don't know the song Preciosa. And it's a very old song, mm-hmm. but Mark has turned it into like an anthem, and he sang it in salsa. And so Bad Bunny comes out and he's singing it, and he says to the crowd, I don't want to sing this alone. Please help me along. And every Puerto Rican in the place is singing it because everybody knows it. And all of a sudden, Mark comes out like a vision from heaven out of like this like thicket of jungle that was on the stage. I was tearing up. I gotta tell you, I felt Puerto Rican at that moment. I was having a little excitement and meltdown in my room in my living room when I saw it, and I kept playing it like porno, like on a loop all week, and it just brought me such joy. But I had a very Miami weekend last weekend because I went to see Marcelo Hernandez.
Oh, that's right.
The Cuban actor, the Cuban American who's on Saturday Night Live, and yes. He was filming his Netflix special.
And you were in the audience?
My God, was it funny.
Oh, that's great.
But it was so Miami, right? So there's all these people whose names you would know in the audience. And he's doing an entire riff about being raised by a tough Cuban mother. And he's talking about places like the mall where we all used to go to, and and the mother, hitting him in the bathroom. And he's doing all of these things about how being mm-hmm. raised by a Cuban mother is, by a Latino mother is very different than maybe being raised by, I don't know, somebody that's not a strong Latina mother. And then I leave the place and it's pouring rain, and I go to like this happening restaurant, and I see like the coach of the Miami Heat, whose name I can't remember. I love him. He's so cute. ¿Cómo se llama? Espoltra. ¿Cómo es?
I'm
Sepultra.
No,
Sepulcher. Spolstra.
Let me do it right. Hold on.
Spolstra.
Yeah,
All right, you're supposed to know this.
I know.
You are my Siri. You are my Siri for celebrities and sports.
It's the pronunciation I'm worried about. I know
okay, whatever the hell.
Spolstra, I think is how you say it, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I love him. I'm in love with him. And he was there, and then I go home and have a close encounter with a frog on my front door.
Oh, you don't like frogs?
No, it was terrible. And yesterday, before we go, I want to tell you, I went to see this play. It's John Leguizamo is at the Public Theater here in New York.
That's right. Yeah.
It was tough. It was intense. It was powerful. It was tragic.
I love that you're going to theater so much. This is
great.
Really,
because you need to find balance.
Yeah.
So I can't be watching news all night, every night. I got to get my ass out from in front of the TV, and I got to go to Broadway, and I got to hear sing. But this was hard to watch. It was so incredibly powerful and tragic. Felicia had said to me, who
books our Broadway stuff,
books our Broadway stuff. She had said that her husband had gone and had said that it made Death of a Salesman feel like a comedy. But here's the amazing thing. So I mean, the acting was extraordinary.
Yeah.
And it was heavy. I was heavy-hearted. It was cathartic also for me because, as somebody who has experienced loss, it was cathartic. But then, they tell me to stay there because John wants to say hello. So I'm sitting there in the theater after the show, waiting for John to come out, and with Cha-Cha. And first he comes out, and he's saying hello to a couple of other people, and he looks at me, and he goes, "Oh my God, that's a real puppy." And I'm like, "No, John. I mean, what do you think? That I am walking around with a stuffed animal? That's the level of emotional support that I need. That I'm, this 53-year-old woman is showing up to Broadway.
She's too good to be true.
With like a stuffed animal under her arm." Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Girl, it's tough times, you know.
You might need a stuffed animal.
People gotta do what they gotta do to cope." But he comes out, and we're laughing, and he's telling jokes, and we're, and I'm like on my seat, like I've melted. This play is so it's so powerful and so hard and so tragic, and it just that's what actors do.
Yeah, they
are acting. I mean, I was like, okay, I need therapy or alcohol and my emotional support puppy or everything at the same time. It was, but he told me it was going to get extended. I think it's getting announced today that it's getting extended. And it's a very relevant and timely story still today. It's about a Latino family trying to get ahead who moves from Jackson Heights to Forest Hills, which I guess is a better neighborhood in New York. I don't know either. I'm not from New York, so I don't know what.
It's in Queens, yeah.
Yeah, and the challenges that come with that.
Right.
And so it was very powerful.
All right, well, check it out.
But I don't recommend that you take your 13-year-old children.
I mean, they've probably seen it already. Who knows?
They see a lot of.
They do too much.
I saw a picture of you. It's your wedding anniversary.
It is my wedding anniversary. 21 years today. I posted a picture of me and my wife, and my wife instantly, and I put a little message I thought was cute. A minute later, she texted me, "You picked the absolute worst photo from our wedding to post." And I said, "Oh, I thought it was cute." And then she sent me another message saying, "And you cropped it poorly as well. You should take a class on photo editing." So thanks, sweetie.
You can't get anything right.
No, not a thing. But,
okay, well, happy anniversary. Oh,
yeah.
So there's a part of Kamala's book.
Yes.
Where she writes about it was her birthday, and it was during the campaign. Her birthday was just a few days before the campaign, before the election. Her birthday is in same day as Sunny, like October. It's next week, I think, or
it's coming up. Yeah,
it's coming up.
Yeah,
and Doug gave her this, like I guess it was like this beautiful necklace, and she says she goes and looks at the back of it, and it's engraved with their anniversary date. So he was repurposing. He probably got her two gifts for the anniversary, and he was repurposing
Decided to keep one back and save it for something else.
So if you want to feel better about how Heather's feeling about your anniversary post, go read that chapter.
I think I'm going to do that
because
after this.
I think Doug Enhoff did not have a good night that night.
I think you're probably right.
But
well,
she told me he's made up for it since.
Well, happy anniversary to my lovely wife, Heather. Thank you. Thank you, Anna Navarro. Thank you, Cha-Cha. Tomorrow on The View, we have the Sharks from Shark Tank, which will be good. You'll be here for that. Our friend and neighbor, Tamron Hall, will have hot topics. And then this weekend on The Weekend View, where we'll find out more shocking secrets about all of your lives, which is fantastic. We have to get into this twin thing. We ran out of time today.
Come on. Do not tell me you would not do that if given the chance, and being told that you would not be found out.
I'll tell you this. I know my wife wouldn't do it. If she met my twin, she had no interest whatsoever.
No, but what if she met Matthew McConaughey and his twin?
Oh, then I don't know. We'd have to talk to her about it. But we'll talk more about this because this is interesting. Also, the fact that your husband still doesn't know this gives me some.
He doesn't watch.
I know.
He does not know there is a Weekend View, and he does not know there is a podcast, which is why I talk openly about us.
Yeah.
Because if he knew, and if anybody tells him, I will come for them.
I've got leverage now for the first time in our relationship. We've worked together for almost 10 years. Now I've got leverage, and this is exciting.
No, I will tell him it's AI. That is not really true.
All right, fine.
He doesn't know how to download a podcast.
Yeah,
Thank God for small favors. And he doesn't know how to watch. He doesn't watch things on I don't think he knows we have Hulu, and I don't think he knows we are on Hulu. And by the way, if you canceled your Hulu membership, go back and get it.
Please do. We'll see you tomorrow.
Behind the Table is executive produced by Brian Teta. Supervising producers are Nathan Getty and Summer Shade. Associate producers are Emily Darcy and Katerina Alexopoulos, and our editor is Brian Davis. Our digital coordinator is Molly Kaiser, and director of publicity is Laurie Hogan. From ABC Audio, Trevor Hastings serves as senior producer, with director of podcast programming Josh Cohan and executive producer Laura Mayer.